I've been working with giant snakes for over 35 years, and one of the things that's most intriguing to me is the way that snakes eat. And today, we're gonna unravel the secrets of the diet of the giant snake. Oh, that is absolutely incredible. Ivy has got the pig. And there are tons of myths about giant snakes and how they actually eat. There's even a myth about them sizing up their prey, where a giant snake is laying next to somebody in a bed, straight out, and then that person goes to the vet and says, I don't know why my snake is doing this. The vet says, oh my gosh, it's sizing you up. That's not the case at all. Snakes don't size their meals up. And if for some reason that they get something that's too large, they're just gonna leave it for something else to eat. So if you have a snake and it's laying by you, don't ever think that that's actually true, because it's always like, oh, I know a person or my aunt or uncle. That's a complete myth. They are ambush hunters. And speaking of anacondas, oftentimes people think that anacondas are man-eaters, that, you know, they're just gobbling up people like crazy. I can't find one situation where I have read where the anaconda has actually killed a person and eaten it. That's not to say that it can't happen or hasn't happened, but it would be very rare for an anaconda to ever eat a human being. Whoa! Whoa! Come on, Butterscotch. Over here, over here. A snake like this, a reticulated python, and all the giant snakes typically are going to eat meals like this. You know, they're going to eat small mammals, maybe even bigger mammals, typically not sizing up humans. With that being said, if there is a culprit that would actually eat humans, it would be this snake right here, the reticulated python. It's rare to happen, but it is known for reticulated pythons in the Philippines and Indonesia to actually take people in. Got to be a little bit careful here. I'm going to go ahead and get her back in her enclosure. There you go. You never really look at giant snakes as man-eaters. That's not their primary food item. It's almost an accident that has happened. So if you're out in the bush somewhere, you don't have to worry about a snake actually grabbing you and eating you. You're definitely more likely to be hit by lightning than ever get eaten by a giant snake. We have fed so many things to my giant anaconda, Ivy. We've fed rabbits, we've fed pigs, we actually even fed turkey for Thanksgiving. We've even tried tilapia. But the truth is, in the wild, these guys are gonna eat, you know, caiman, they're gonna eat fish, they're gonna eat birds, they're gonna eat any little rodent that runs around, pretty much any small mammal. But their favorite food, unfortunately, happens to be my beloved capybara. It bums me out to even think about it. Always gets me every time. We've talked a lot about the big pythons here, but what about the little snakes here at the Reptarium? They all need to eat as well. The little pythons and boas are pretty much really similar to the big boas and pythons. But then there's colubrids, which need smaller meals more frequently. Burmese pythons, on the other hand, like the girl Sunrise here, woohoo! They typically seem to like smaller meals, in my experience. That doesn't mean that in the wild they don't sometimes eat really big, like antelope, or potentially even in the Everglades, they're eating alligators. But I've actually noticed that Burmese seem to like smaller meals more frequently, whereas reticulated pythons and anacondas in the wild are typically eating larger meals and then going long distance of time, months sometimes, in between meals. Whereas these guys, in captivity at least, certainly like a meal like this maybe once every 7 to 10 days. There you go, Gemma. Snakes are really ambush hunters, right? They're not gonna go chase their food down on most occasions, especially the big snakes like this. They're gonna sit and kind of lay and wait for a prey to come to them. They may move really stealthily with that Jacobson's organ, with that tongue going out really quick, sensing the air, that heat pig firing up, knowing that there's prey there. They may sneak up on it, but they're mainly ambush hunters. And like you can see with Gemma here, in this relatively large meal, about a 20-pound pig, she can actually eat something many times the size of her head. Now, a lot of people think that snakes' jaws actually unhinge. The truth is, they don't unhinge. They have a ligament that actually can stretch, and that's the reason that they can eat a prey item so much larger than their head. I mean, think about this. It'd be like a human being eating a watermelon in one bite. That's what a snake can actually do. All the things that I get to do with reptiles, I think feeding giant snakes large meals like this is one of the most impressive things about snakes. Ah, there you go. Now, the fact is captivity is certainly different than the wild when it comes to feeding giant snakes. With an animal like this, Sunfire, the reticulated python, who knows how often a prey item is going to get close enough for them to actually do it. Like I said, they're not going to chase it down. They don't have the speed to do that. So they actually have to lie and wait for it, right? It could be weeks. It could even be months before they get an opportunity to feed. Whereas in captivity, we're feeding them a little bit different, right? We're feeding them every 7 to 10 days, which means they're getting really regular meals. Also means that we have to be careful not to overfeed them, right? Because if you feed them too large a meal every 7 to 10 days, they're going to start to get fat. It's going to reduce their lifespan. So it's really important to feed the right size meal. If you're feeding as frequently as we do, every 7 to 10, maybe every 14 days here at the Reptarium. But the fact is, in the wild, these guys can go months and months without food. So they're hoping to get a really nice big meal, because it may not come around for a long time. guys know I'm always excited about feeding giant snakes, and it looks like someone else is excited about me feeding giant snakes too. Not my feet, not my feet. There you go. Remember when Jeffrey was just a little baby hypogranate Burmese? He was like this big around, and now look at how big he's getting. He is absolutely wonderful. Snakes aren't just mindless eaters. Now Lucy's in that phase where she's cleared up out of shed. So she went blue, she's cleared up, and she's gonna shed in the next day or two. At that point, they may eat, they may not eat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a shot. Woohoo! Come on, girl, over here. There you go, girl. Yeah, I would say she's interested. There's no doubt about that. She always keeps me on my toes. And when you feed snakes, they grow. And when they grow, they shed. That beautiful shed right there. How long does it take for a giant snake to eat? Something like Butterscotch here actually eats relatively quickly. We literally handed her this food probably about 10 minutes ago. So she went from grabbing the food to literally almost finishing the food here in about 10 minutes. But she's a very fast eater. Some snakes are very habitual. Basically, Ivy will take a long time to actually eat. She'll grab the prey, she'll eventually drag it into the water. She'll spend hours, sometimes an hour and a half, mapping it all out. And then when she actually starts eating, literally she'll take down this 20-pound pig in literally like 5 to 10 minutes sometimes. But to get started, it takes her a while. Other snakes eat it almost immediately. Another thing that's absolutely amazing to me about snakes like Perdita here is the fact that they can actually eat such large meals without arms and legs. I mean, think about that. I mean, we're eating with forks and knives and all this type of stuff. These guys don't have any arms to help things move. And that's why they have recurved teeth, right? Those teeth are not only there to hold on to prey, they're actually constricting, but also helps them kind of move along and pull the prey down. And then their muscles start to undulate and go this way and that way so that they can actually move the prey down their neck and into their stomach. And as you can see, Ivy drug it in the water. She's so predictable. And now she's going to actually map it out and start eating. But what happens after a giant snake is done eating? They basically become lethargic, right? Now all of their energy goes to digestion. They're going to find a nice warm spot, maybe a spot that's hidden a little bit so that they're out of the way of predation. And they're just going to lay there. Depending on the size of the meal, they may lay there for 3 or 4 days while they digest. They may lay there for a month while they digest. If an animal like Ivy ate a 100-pound animal, it might literally take her a month and a half to fully digest that. Anacondas, interesting enough, while they're digesting, they typically do it in the water. Whereas pythons, like reticulated pythons and Burmese pythons, are going to find a spot, again, to hide out and stay nice and warm and help in that aiding of that digestion. But they go completely lethargic until they're digested. And as you can see, we do vary up the food, right? So Al's going to get a couple rats today, whereas last time we fed him, he got a nice big meal. And we want to vary that up to make sure that the animals continue to have enrichment, as well as just varying up is healthy for the animal. There you go. That was the last bite for Ivy. She actually crushed it this time. One of the fastest times she's ever eaten. Let me know down below if you've learned something about big snakes or you just enjoy seeing them feed, because I certainly do. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, there's a playlist that you can watch all kinds of videos. You can also hit that subscription button. It would mean a lot to me. Also, hit that like button while you're down there. Have a wonderful day, Reptile Army. Remember, be kind to someone, and I promise I'll see you in the next one. Whoa! Woohoo!